Welcome to another episode of Two Drink Maximum. I'm your co-host, Shane Byerly.
I'm your other co-host, Chase.
Welcome to the show. We are excited
to be
today
here.
to have a returning guest, a returning friend of the show. Damien Tuffereau is here. Damien, welcome back, man. Good to have you.
Thank you. Very
Good to
nice to
have
be
you.
back, and nice to see both of you. And I was a little nervous the first time, but I had such a great time the first time. It made me feel so comfortable. So thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Well, and thank you for picking a drink that's particularly cold.
That's right.
Yes.
As we sit here, I'm sweating because it's hot outside.
Summer is heating up, and
Yeah.
our studio is painfully low on
It's
air
painfully
conditioning
low
at the
on air
moment.
conditioning too, so it's a little warm. But tell us, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking an espresso martini made with reposado tequila and a shot of Bailey's.
Now, tell us about that, because that's a very specific drink that you've kind of customized. So how did you get to that?
I kind
Recipe.
of looked at it as the one drink to have when you're having one drink, and I
Okay.
know the show is TwoDrinkMaximum, but what I'd had a couple of espresso martinis, the typical vodka, but I'm not a vodka person. I'm more of a tequila person. I don't know about you guys. Tequila is like the one alcohol I drink that doesn't make me I don't think it's a depressant for me. So I was like, okay, well, let's try it with tequila, and then a little Bailey's because I just like it to be, I don't know, milkier or whatever, creamier.
Yeah, a little creamier.
Yeah, somebody suggested that one time, and it was about 2 years ago, and I asked the bartender. Every bartender was like, "Yeah, no problem." I thought it was like, I almost felt guilty. I was like, "Do you make those?" They're like, "Yeah, no problem." So
Nice.
Never look
yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Well, and also the Baileys we were able to get was espresso cream Baileys, so it's like
Oh.
even more
Extra
espresso.
espresso-y.
perfect.
Yeah, well,
I'm
let's,
just here for the espresso because I love coffee.
let's give it a
So
try.
I'm happy for it.
Cheers,
Well,
everybody.
perfect timing. I usually start dragging ass around 2:30 in the
That's
afternoon.
right.
Yeah,
So perfect timing for
pick
all
me
of
up.
us.
yeah, that is good. It's very sweet, but it is refreshing.
I get the tequila in there.
Yeah, a little bit of tequila, a little espresso. So
Coffee
you have
takes
your
the edge
energy
off.
up, you're a little buzzed, but you're not. I can have that and then just nurse a beer for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's economical as well.
There you go. So it's economical and refreshing.
But I'm glad
It
you're
is,
enjoying
and-
it as well.
Keeps you awake. That's what I'm here for.
Absolutely.
So, Damien, you are a creator and executive producer in the entertainment world. You've also done a great deal of camera work in your life. We were curious how you got your start in the entertainment industry. What brought you to this point?
Well, I started at the very beginning. I studied radio and television production in college, but we all know doesn't mean a great deal
Sure.
in the real world. But I was very excited about it, and I actually started working in radio when I was 22 years old. When I was a senior in college, I'd done college radio like everybody else, but I got a job at a commercial station in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Nice.
A little station called 96.9 Next FM, and I thought I wanted to be a disc jockey and be on the air. And after about a year and a half of doing that, maybe 2 years, I realized, first of all, the money was really crappy. I think I was making $6 an hour.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
radio had its heyday in like the 70s as far
Yeah,
as making
it was.
money.
This was and I also just didn't like it. Like I enjoyed playing music and I knew there were a lot of people listening. It was
Sure.
a very popular commercial station, so that was terrific. But I just didn't like being alone in a room, even though I knew there were thousands or tens of thousands of people listening. So I was like, I'd done some TV production in college, and I was like, I'd rather be part of a team and be part of a group of people working on a project than just doing being a disc jockey.
Sitting in a box alone.
Sitting in a box
basically.
alone, speaking to people that you don't even know or not even sure if they're listening or not.
I mean, there's a reason most DJs kind of go crazy at some point in their life because they're just in there with the microphone and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was not as fun as I thought it would be. But like I said, I already had quite a bit of experience in television production, at least on a college level. So I got an internship at a place called National Video Center in New York City. This is spring of '92, I think.
Okay.
God, I'm really dating myself. A place called National Video Center, and they had studios and post-production, and they took me on as an intern. They're no longer around. They went out of business about 20 years ago. But if you ever saw the movie Tootsie, if you've ever seen that, that's National Video Centers where they shot all those soap opera scenes.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and I'm actually friends with a couple. I remember working with a couple of the camera operators that played camera operators,
Nice,
I
in the
met them.
movie. I love Tootsie.
So when I watch Tootsie, I can look back on and see those scenes. But like, oh yeah, I cleaned that toilet. I painted that dressing room. Because that's what they start you off doing.
Of course.
The really crappy stuff.
The grunt work.
The grunt work, exactly. But I was very happy to do it, and I was there for about 3 or 4 months, 5 months. Didn't get paid. Worked 6 days a week, and then I started off just working as a production assistant. And I knew I wanted to be behind the camera. I was so fascinated They had shot an episode of MTV Unplugged at National Video Center, and I remember seeing how it was done in multi-camera and just everything that went into it and music, and I was so enamored by it. And I remember seeing some of the camera operators and seeing what they were doing. And originally, I was more interested in lighting and maybe even sound or audio because of my DJ or music experience. But when I saw what the camera operators did, especially in a multi-camera situation, especially on a show like MTV Unplugged, which was iconic at the time.
Yeah.
And there just was like such a blend between music and then the visual end of it. There was something about live to tape television, that pressure, that anxiety that kind of goes into it, that for whatever reason, just really attracted me to the project. So
back when MTV was still playing music on their television channel,
right before it just became like dating shows or whatever they have on now.
Now it's just
the challenge, and
reality TV with music.
Exactly. So anyway, I to make a long story short, I started my career at National Video Center. I went from there to being a production assistant, and then I got in a very, very lucky break. I met someone who was basically like a location manager for MTV, and I just met her by chance. I gave her my card and gave her my number, and a week later I got a phone call from a woman at MTV, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we're looking for a camera assistant. So and so gave me your name. Have you done that kind of work before?" No, but I was like, on the phone, I was like, "Sure."
Yeah, of course I have. Don't be stupid.
Of course,
I'm an old pro
all the time. I kind of had.
I have one in my hand right now. I'm
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Funny you should mention it. So I guess I think I look back on it now. If I had been truthful and said, "Not really," my whole life would be different now.
Yeah.
But I just, sure, I've done that before. Showed up. Luckily, there was a couple guys that were camera assistants on that first job that I knew from my internship. I got really lucky. They're like, "Okay, we'll show you how it goes."
Sure.
And anyway, so I started basically as a camera assistant for MTV in the early '90s, and then I knew I wanted to be behind the camera, and I was lucky enough to work with some really terrific people, very A-list, camera operators and directors of photography, and they kind of took me under their wing and showed me, how the job is done, introduced me to directors, introduced me to the camera and all the different aspects, and so it just kind of went from there. But I was, I think it was just a lot of luck and maybe bullshitting at the right time, which is how this business works, as we all know.
Say yes and figure it out.
Say yes and figure it out later. Yeah.
Because it's weird. It's working in the camera industry. It's not something you really can go to school for. I mean, as you said, but it's also not something that you kind of just stumble into. You got to kind of aim towards it. It's
an interesting contradiction when you put it that way.
You know what I mean? It's like, because you can't just fall backwards into like, "Oh, I'm a camera operator."
Yeah.
Now. You
no
know
one
what I
just
mean?
says, "Oh, maybe I'll try this."
Right.
It's never like that. So it's not something you stumble into, and you have to have a passion for it. But at the same time, there's no want ads. There's no job. You can't really study it in a book.
Yeah.
So it's a very, I mean, you can say that about a lot of jobs in the entertainment industry. It's not something you stumble into. You have to have a passion for it, but you kind of have. You're not really sure where you learn it. It's kind of a combination of both.
Yeah.
It either clicks with you or you shouldn't be doing it at all.
Yeah.
Like that's what I've had the experience in working with various camera folks in the world. It's like
Yeah.
you get somebody that's great and it's wonderful and you never have to worry about camera, but you get that one person that has no idea what they're doing and your whole day is ruined. So
Yeah.
it's a
absolutely.
wonderful skill that I want everyone to be good at all the time.
Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like you know what you're doing now. It was hard to find the exact corresponding information online. How many Emmys do you have now? 8, 11, 10?
11.
We couldn't lock down the number.
Yeah, I know. Every different website I looked at had a bigger number, and I was like, well, I better just ask him directly. 11 Emmys.
I've won 11 Emmys. Yeah, I've been
Oh,
very,
man.
very
Are
lucky.
you? Do you actually display them now, or is 11 like too many? Where you're like, do I put them in the closet now?
Do you show
Well-
one and have a sign that says times 11?
That's a very good question. I'm actually running out of room from them. That's the issue. But I do display them because I
Because
think
you earned them, But
well, I think of the four major statues, I think it is aesthetically at least the nicest looking one.
certainly
Hold-
the sharpest.
sharpest.
Yeah, it also
yes.
holds hats the best.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
what?
It holds hats the best. You
Yes,
put
it
a hat
does.
on an Emmy and it fits. It's great.
Absolutely. I actually knew a guy that had many, double digits like I did, and used one. He turned one into a bong.
Oh, that's
Well, it
clever.
was just, he's like, well, I'm running out of place for these things, so I might as well make them more useful.
Yeah, I know. Turn them into a kitchen tool.
A
Why
kitchen
not,
tool,
right? Yeah.
exactly. So
I'd probably put a bottle opener on the bottom of one. Just always have my bottle opener
Yeah,
in my
bottle
kitchen.
opener.
Yeah, but dude, I don't know if you've held one of those things before.
heavy.
They are so heavy, man.
They're heavy.
Crazy heavy.
And you
yeah.
can't bring them on an airplane, by the way. I don't know if you know
can
this.
or cannot?
No, because I brought one overseas. One of my Emmys I gave to my father before he passed. My father passed in 2017. He lived in France, so I went to go visit him before he passed, and I wanted to bring one of the Emmys to him.
Yeah.
You know, and I got it, put his name on it, and you know, dedicate it to him. But you can't bring it on a plane because those things are sharp.
It's
and
pointy, yeah.
It's pointy, so you have to like put it in a box and have it checked and everything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Just for future reference for future Emmy winners, don't attempt to bring it
Just
on.
in case you want to travel with your
plane.
Emmy.
Yeah.
Noted, yeah.
Noted, duly
I'm
noted.
going to write that down right now, yeah.
TSA, no. Special Emmy check.
Yeah.
So, I mean, our next question to that would be like, what makes an award-winning camera person or team? Like, what are the skills that you're looking for when you're building a team, or just you as an individual camera person that you think goes a long way in getting the nominations?
I think a lot of it comes down to knowing what the show needs. You know, there's so many different ways to make a living as a camera operator in this business, or as a director of photography, and you know, I've specialized mostly in live multi-camera television, and that involves working with other camera operators and working with a director and an AD, and you know, but it's certainly working with the other camera operators and working with a director. So I think they're
just to drive that point home, just
Yeah.
in case people can't wrap their heads around what exactly a live to television benefit is. I mean, sorry, a show is. I destroyed that completely. What was the phrase that you used? Live.
well, multi-camera, live multi-camera. Or let me start over again.
Yeah.
Live or live to tape multi-camera television.
All right, and just for context on that, some of these shows include Fire Aid Benefit Concert, which was recently here in Los Angeles, Dick Clark's Rocking New Year's Eve, New York Eve, Saturday Night Live, you got one episode there, The Ellen Show, Grease Live, which is the notable one. We've spoken to another cameraman from Grease Live, and then the Golden Globes, Emmys, and Academy Awards. So any live show that you know of, Damien's had a hand in.
Pretty much, yeah. It seems like if you're watching something live and important on TV, you're also behind the camera.
A lot of them. I've been very, very lucky.
How was that Fire Aid benefit? Was that did it hit a little bit different since it was, you know, it was for our community, and since LA got hit so hard by the fires? Like, did that gig have a different vibe to it in the air?
It did, in the sense that I've worked a few shows like that. There were benefit shows like that, and you really get a sense. You know, the production may be similar, but what's great about a show like that is you really get a sense from the audience of the tragedy that's happened, and there's a real different energy there. And that's one of the things I'm trying to think of some of the other benefit shows I've done. Fire Aid being the most recent one, but it's interesting. One of the things I love about multi-camera television, especially live television, is 99% of the time there's an audience. You know, whether you're shooting an arena or a TV studio or whatever it is. And I always kind of got a kick out of the different audience reactions depending on what kind of show you're doing and what the genre is or what the subject matter is. And like I said, Fire Aid was an emotional show to do because there were people in the audience who had lost their homes, who, you know, maybe had lost friends. I know there were some deaths, I think.
Yeah, I believe there were. Yeah, luckily not many, but there were a few.
Yeah, so you could tell it was a very emotional crowd, and it was a local crowd mostly. You know, people that it seemed like everybody there either had lost a home or maybe knew a friend who had lost a home. So, you know, it's interesting to work a show like that. You really see the crowd is very emotional about it, and it's, you know, it's inspiring to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I would imagine that kind of energy translates to the way you're operating the camera as well. You know?
Does it make you work harder? Where you're like, I've got to make this the best two-shot I've ever done in my life?
Well, most of the time I was shooting the music, but when I did, you know, whip around to get an audience shot, you are looking for the more. You will find people that are, you know, in the audience that can't do it on radio, obviously, but you know, you could see that people that are
Tearful
emotional
eyes,
or
yes.
tears flowing, or people, you know, just like, you know, which is terrific. That's part of what television is. It's
good
a visual,
TV.
Yeah, it makes for good television.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now I have to ask. You don't have to answer, but I do have to ask. Since you were there behind the scenes, did all that stuff with Ellen, is that blown out of proportion, or was that like that was fair?
That's a really good question. I was there on both sides of it. I used to fill in on Ellen quite a bit, and I knew some of the producers from other shows.
Sure.
So I was, you know, it was just one of my regular. I used to what we call in the business day play on that show quite a bit. There's quite a few shows that that being one of them, and from a crew perspective, from a camera operator's perspective, the rule was, you know, you just don't talk to Ellen.
Yeah.
You know, and that was kind of accepted. You know, just like, you know, if she walks by. But I guess there was a lot going on behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of, even though I knew some of the producers. We can talk a little bit about that later when we talk about the adult life, because that kind of behavior is part of the reason I created that show. But we'll get to that eventually. All I can say is it was a very pleasant show to work on in the sense that the director and the camera operators and everybody got along really well. It was a very different scene if you were above the line, apparently.
Sure.
And that had been going on for a long time, and that's probably all I should say about it. You know,
That's
but
fair.
Let me finish with it. It was a fun show to work on. Ellen certainly was nice enough. You know, hi everybody, whatever. You just, not someone you would engage with.
Sure.
Leave it at that.
Sure.
We don't know. It's hard to know unless you were there.
Yeah.
There's seems to be a lot of corroborating
And
evidence.
it sounds like even if you were there was compartmentalization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But she's out of the country now, I think.
Is she
I
out
think
of the
her and
country?
Portia moved overseas after Mr. Trump got elected. So
God
no
bless
more
her.
shows from Ellen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah. It's too bad she could use the money.
So are there better or worse shows to work on? I guess the context here is like, what's been your favorite and what has made that stand out in your brain as far as like, this is a good show to work on?
That's a very good question. My favorite experience ever in the 35 years of being behind the camera as an operator or as a DP was the live musicals that we did. Not so much recently, but from 2016, there was about 5 or 8 years there where there was a lot of them being produced, and I was lucky enough to work on quite a few of them. Grease Live, Hairspray, Christmas Story, Rent, Annie, Little Mermaid, and those are in
They did
terms
Little
of
Mermaid?
specials.
I didn't even know they did that one.
Yeah, they did that. Well, that was done live. That was a different format. We can get into that, but that was one of the live musicals we did. But so amongst my favorite shows I've ever done, probably if we're talking about series or specials, in terms of specials, the live musicals that I've done, and I've done, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them, have absolutely been the highlight of my career. Incredibly challenging. Literally 100, 150 shots to memorize, not just framing, focus, and composition, but, you had to, time your shots along bars and beats, and it was, with actors having hit their marks. It was extremely difficult, but an absolute pleasure from start to finish. And, the money was there, the budget was there, and we really had a lot of fun doing those. So incredibly challenging and incredibly rewarding. And I was lucky enough to win. I won an Emmy for Grease Live and for Hairspray Live.
Nice.
And I think the other ones were nominated but didn't win. But certainly that was a terrific. And then in terms of series, my favorite series I've ever done, and I've been on a show for about 17 years now, is Dancing with the Stars.
Nice.
There's the specials and the one-ups like, the Academy Awards or Grease Live or the Olympics or whatever. And then there's the shows you do on a regular basis like Dancing with the Stars or American Idol or things like that. And I would say Dancing with the Stars has been, my favorite series to work on over 17 years. I can't believe I've been there for that long.
That is amazing.
I was going to say that's surprising that the show is on that long. I guess.
Envy of cameraman camera people in the world everywhere having a 17-year gig.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not so much me or the show. I'm just not someone who wants to stick on doing the same thing over and over and over again. I remember one of the first shows I ever worked on a regular basis, if you can remember this far back, was the Rosie O'Donnell show.
Yeah.
Back in the mid-90s. And that was one of the first camera jobs I ever got. And I was all excited to be there, and it was terrific. And I did half the first season, and then I started doing the second season. Within 6 months, I was bored out of my mind. Nothing against Rosie or the show, but it was the same format over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Whereas Dancing with the Stars, it's the same show over and over again, but it's not the same show, and there's different dancers and different choreography and different challenges. So, it's been terrific. That's been a terrific experience in terms of long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess the flip side of that question is whether it was out of your control or a part of your control. Was there a show has been your least favorite where it was like, this felt disorganized or,
You don't have to name the show.
name the
But
show.
you can
But is there
describe
one
what
that
was
sticks
going on.
out?
Gosh, my least favorite shows ever. I don't know if I should mention the name of it. I did a talk show at Warner Brothers about 10 years ago. I think it was maybe 11 years ago, 2015 or 2014, about 10 years ago. That was just the absolute worst experience
I
of
can
my
see the
entire.
frustration on your face.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Just trying to find nice words.
Yeah, it was. I can't really say the name of it, but it was like The View. It was there was that kind of format.
Sure.
And we shot at Warner Brothers, and I did that show for one season. And I'm not exaggerating. It was about halfway through that season, I realized I needed to see a psychiatrist and get on Prozac, because it was just. I just thought the intellectual level of the show was really poor.
Gotcha.
And I found it, and I didn't get along well with the director, and the money was terrible, and the hours were awful, and it was just
Perfect storm there.
it was a perfect storm of misery. So I did it for one season, and they invited me back for the second season. And luckily I wasn't available. So
Like, I'm okay, thank
yeah,
That was the happiest phone call. Like, oh, I just can't.
just can't do it, guys. I got a better offer, which is I'd rather dig ditches than work for you guys. That's the better offer. I'm sure I have other experiences that were unpleasant, but in terms of something that really stands out in my mind is just being, not a healthy environment. That was
Underpaid, overworked is never a good equation.
I don't recommend it.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's never good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, these days it seems like you don't have to say yes to everything as far as projects that you choose to work on. So, I mean, at this point in your career, what gets a yes from you as a camera human?
Honestly, in terms of a broadcast television show, I think most often it comes down to the director and the people I'm working with. I'm very fortunate and very grateful to be in a situation now where I can say no. For a long time, that wasn't the case. But now it really comes down to the director I'm working with, the other camera operators I'm working with, and I've been doing this for about 35 years, so I'm lucky enough to know quite a few people and have some good experiences, and you can build on that. And those are the people I really respond to, and like, yeah, I'll be there. It's not about the money anymore. Doesn't really matter anymore. It's really about the people involved with the project. Certainly a live musical. Certainly, I just got called for the fall season of Dancing with the Stars. I'm looking forward to doing that again. But that comes down to the crew and the director, and it's also you want it to be a little bit of a challenge. And Dancing with the Stars is still a challenging show. It's a very, very difficult show to do. So I guess the best way to answer that is it's not about the money anymore. It's more about who's going to be there and the director, and you can really pick and choose the jobs you like at this point.
Are there any dream directors for you? Even if it was something you hadn't done?
I've been
Somebody walked in your door and was like, "We need you." You'd be like, "Yes."
Well, I mean, I could name, I'm sure Ridley Scott, and Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
But in terms of multi-camera, I've been lucky enough to work with just about all the big names out there, and it's been a terrific experience. And we'll get to this eventually. I'm much less interested in furthering my career as a camera operator and DP, and now I'm really concentrating on producing now. So, camera work now is a way to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Right.
I still love it. I still enjoy it. But to answer your original question, it's like, oh, who's directing that? Yeah, sure, that'll be fun. I'll do it. It's not about thank God I got the job. It's more like, sure, I'll be there, and that'll help finance other things that I'm more
Now
passionate
you're moving
about.
into I could probably direct this better territory. That's always a tough spot to be when you're on a project and you're like, why am I
Why am I
listening
here?
to
Yeah.
this person?
This guy couldn't direct traffic. What the fuck am I doing here?
Well, let me ask. I mean, especially since it seems like there seems to be, you're reading stories a lot about like such a large exodus of production outside of LA. So, I mean, is multi-camera live television kind of one of the pockets of the industry that is still firmly rooted here in LA? It seems like a lot of feature films and a lot of narrative television shows are shooting outside of the country. You're reading all these stories about all these production folks moving outside of LA, but it does seem like that section of the industry is still pretty firmly rooted here. Is that fair to say?
No, it's frightening what's happened in the last few years because, and I'm not even going to get into the politics of it, but for whatever reason, there seems to be an atmosphere in LA that is driving whatever's going on in Los Angeles and Hollywood is driving a lot of these productions away for whatever reason. We're not getting into the politics of it. And yeah, I think there was a game show. Rob Lowe did a game show called The Floor or The Wall or something like that. That was shot in Ireland.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, if it's actually cheaper to fly to fly all your contestants and use a local crew,
It's crazy.
That blows my mind. Like they were talking,
Yeah.
They were talking about doing America's Got Talent in Ireland. Like, are you kidding?
That makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot. Well, but it doesn't make any sense, of course. But what's fascinating about it is like, is it really that much cheaper to fly all your talent over there and everybody over there just to use a local crew? And if that's the case, then what is that saying about production here in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Like, have we just outpriced ourselves? Have we gotten to the point where we're just too expensive? Is it I mean,
It's tough. I know the interview they're talking about with Rob Lowe. He was talking to somebody else, and he's
Right.
like, it's too expensive to film small projects on the lot unless it's those productions doing it. But I mean, we just California just passed the tax incentives. I think it's gone up to $750 million a year.
That's what I heard. That's the number
just
I
happened,
heard.
and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
seems to be rippling through the industry, and people are starting to turn and look back here again.
I really hope so.
But again, all crews are getting like halved, and schedules are getting shortened, and writers' rooms are shrinking, and it's do more with less.
I'd like to speak to that for a second.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely the case. That even the shows that have stuck around, and again, I'm talking mostly. I can only speak of my genre, which is multi-camera, live and live to tape. I know. I get the impression there's still a lot of features and episodics being shot here in LA.
Yeah, in
or
parts.
enough to keep. So that's
It's like, it used to be like 15 shows. Now it's like 4. So it's like,
Yeah.
yes, they're still here, but not at the volume that it was even like 5 years ago.
Nothing's the volume that it was a few years ago. But I'll tell you about, have we cannibalized ourselves by, just charging too much? I mean, when times are good and there's nothing but work, you can, rates keep everybody's making money, everybody's happy. But at what point do the bean counters take over and you realize, oh, wait, you guys are just too goddamn expensive. We can do this.
Yeah, we run afoul of offending some unions the deeper this
Well,
conversation
yeah.
goes. So I don't know about that.
exactly.
Well, and it's also too. I also think it's symptomatic. I mean, you would know better than I would, but I do think it's also symptomatic of just every content provider is now in an arms race to have the most stuff, right? We can't just have 2 game shows. We have to have 45 game shows. We have to have 38 narrative television shows and 2 movies every single weekend, whatever. And at a certain point, that's not sustainable. There's just not enough crew people. So you're going to have to start cutting corners in certain places. And it's unfortunate that it affects every aspect of the industry, but I think it's symptomatic of the arms race of like, we have to have 2 game shows is not enough. We need 45,
Work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the way to fix the problem is to start small. And the first problem I see is that I see empty glasses on this table.
That's
so
right.
we're going to need to take a break, and we're going to need to make a refill. And we will be right back with Damien Tuffereau and a special guest when we come back.
That's right.
Ooh, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Be right back. Thank you for tuning into the show today. We just wanted to take a moment over this break to tell everyone how fortunate we are to get to record at the Muse Rooms. There's a lot of places you can film a podcast, but this far and away is one of the best ones for us to come to and do it at.
That's right. We're very lucky that we have the opportunity to record our podcast at multiple locations, but we choose to record it here because we love the vibe here. Nancy, the owner, is great. The creative co-working space here really promotes a really great vibe that's professional, and yet it's creative and inclusive, and it's just a fun place to record. It's a fun place to meet. Our guests love coming here as well.
And a wonderful community. They do mixers. They do all kinds of stuff to get you involved and integrated into the creative community that comes to Muse Rooms. So check them out at themuserooms.com. That's MUSE for Muse.
So follow themuserooms.com for all the latest updates. If you want to reach out to Nancy and set up an appointment, please do so. And who knows, maybe we'll catch you there one day.
Maybe you'll be a guest with us at the Muse Rooms
Yeah,
someday.
that's right.
And now back to the show. Welcome back from the break. We're here with Damien Tuffereau, who I just butchered his name, but I just corrected it now, so you'll never know. We're back from the break. We have a refill of our espresso martinis. These aren't espresso martinis. Yes,
And,
they are.
and along the way, we picked up a special guest as well.
We did. We picked up a new guest. We are now joined by Kenna James, kindly enough to join us on the show. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
So now that we're here with Kenna, so we asked you earlier before in the first half of the show what it takes for you to say yes to a show. It seems like you said yes to making your own show, which is pretty exciting.
I did. Thank you so much, and I'm very excited to talk about it, and I'm glad to be in this forum and be able to have Kenna with me. She's a big part of the cast and a big part of the show. We're very lucky to have her. And I came up with the idea for the show about 5 years ago, and we talked about this earlier. I've worked as a camera operator and DP, and I've produced small projects before, but certainly nothing on this level. And I've never worked in the adult industry in any shape or form, So this was kind of, I wouldn't say it came out of nowhere. The motivation for it, to be perfectly honest with you, was that it really was, I saw what was happening during the Me Too movement. And frankly, I was embarrassed about the way men with power were using that power to take advantage of people. And I thought that was really wrong. And I thought to myself, well, could I create a show where I would be in a position of some sort of power or some sort of, but I wanted to be like, let me be the one guy who doesn't do that, So I wanted to put myself in the most vulnerable position, and, it meant a lot to me to be not that guy that treats women like that. It really meant a lot to me, and I felt what was going on was really wrong, and beyond just wrong, I felt that, if you have to use that kind of power to connect with the opposite sex, then there's something wrong with you. And maybe you need to work on yourself, and I think a lot of men don't realize that. And I know this sounds like I'm really going on a tangent, but there was, It really bothered me, that whole what was going on. I didn't realize it was as prevalent as it was. And I thought to myself, well, how can I be the better person? Well, why don't I try to put myself in a situation like that around, let's just call it what it is, very beautiful, attractive people, and try to be the one guy that doesn't act that way, that really treats those people with the respect they deserve. And everyone deserves it.
Sure.
I don't care what level you are in front or behind the camera. We all deserve to be treated equally. And I don't like the idea that men would use their power unethically. So that was the general idea behind it. And then I think we actually talked about this last time I was here when Rebel was here. I will admit this. I was on Pornhub one night just scrolling, and I saw there was like a scene where there was these women putting their makeup on in the dressing room before they did a scene. It was like 4 or 5 women. And I clicked on it because it looked interesting. And I was watching it and I was listening and I was like, they had their clothes on. It wasn't the least bit sexually arousing, but it was really interesting. They were talking about their boyfriends and, I got to do this and do that. And I was like, why isn't this a television show?
Yeah.
That this is really interesting, and so that was really it was the Me Too movement that kind of put me in the mindset that someone had to make a difference. Someone had to be better than that.
Sure.
But it was just scrolling on Pornhub that one time and looking and going, this is really interesting. I want to know what these people are talking about. I want to know about their lives off camera. This is terrific. And it started with that about 5 years ago. And, I feel really proud of how far we've come. I've got a terrific cast, Kenna being obviously a big part of it. Can I mention the other cast members?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we have Kenna James, Katie Morgan, Callie Sweets, Rebel Lynn, Zoe Fox, and Kiki Dare, all who have been in the business, I would say at least 10 years, right, Kenna?
Yeah, I think all of us have been in over 10.
Oh, yeah, at least, obviously Katie and Kiki have been in for about 25 years, but I really wanted to concentrate on the people in the business, male and female. I certainly hope to make many versions of this show and include male performers as well. But I really wanted to make it about people in the business who have been doing it for a significant amount of time, are very comfortable with what they do, enjoy what they do, and I thought those are the people I really wanted to concentrate on. Yeah, I think there's a very negative stereotype about adult performers, that a lot of them have maybe drug issues or whatever issues are going on, and that's their way. And I'm sure there's a dark side to it, like any other business, whether it's, being a doctor or a lawyer. There's a dark side to every business. But I also saw a lot of positivity in the people I met, the performers and people that were involved in the business. And I was like, this is the kind of show I want to make. I want to make a show that is very sex positive, that is very, honestly, very female centric. I just saw a lot of opportunity there, and I'll shut up now and
since we have Kenna here,
tell us
how did he do?
How did you get involved? I mean, because here's the deal. I'm sure that you probably get requests to be in a lot of things, right? And so, how did this show kind of break through the noise of like, oh, this show is trying to do something different, or it's a little bit unique? How did that get to you, and how did it hit you ultimately?
So it's funny. I actually was really good friends with Katie Morgan and Kiki and Rebel, and would frequently hang out with them and go to like different shows or like spend the night over at like friend's house, camping out in the yard or whatever. And I remember Rebel coming up to me one night. We were at a comedy show in Vegas called The Dirty at 12:30. And she walked up to me and she goes, "Hey, I have this really unique opportunity about a reality show, like about our real lives. Is that something you'd be interested in?" And I immediately jumped on because I was like, I think that's fascinating. Like to be able to show what our lives are actually like behind the screen, not just this idea that people have or just this fantasy that people have,
Right.
but to show the reality and like, we're just people too. Just because we have sex on film doesn't mean we're not humans.
Just because people get to see a lot of you doesn't mean they know anything about you.
Exactly. You see only the things I want you to know about me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people mistake that for knowing exactly who I am.
Sure.
So, as a member of the talent on the show, how did the shoot go? Y'all just did a pilot. How
shoot,
did you feel about it?
Oh my God, the shoot went amazing. I can honestly say the production, especially day one when we did the multicam review, was a lot bigger than I even thought it was going to be. I remember walking out onto the set and my mind just like went
Bigger set than you thought?
way bigger set than I thought it was going to be. But it was absolutely amazing. Not only just filming that, but getting to hang out with them and actually like, my friends and getting to show that on film with people.
So did you eventually just get to the point where you forgot the cameras were there?
Absolutely. So especially after the first day. First day, it was pretty clear the cameras were there with the setup we had and everything had to be just right. But when it came to especially like day 2, when we did the beach day or like the pool day with the family day,
Sure.
it was
No
so
spoilers. No spoilers.
well, you
gotta see
get
when it
none of
comes
the
out.
spoilers other than that. But no, that was amazing, and it was just like hanging out with my friends. I honestly forgot we were filming stuff at a certain point until inevitably the TikTok social media people come over and they're like, "Hey, we need to do this," and I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Oh right, yeah,
I am working."
Can't you around just hanging out? Yeah. Well, Damien, I want to back up for a minute and just kind of ask him, because I think that probably many people listening to the show have thought, "Oh, I have a good idea for a TV show," but there's a difference between having a good idea for a TV show and then actually getting one kind of off the ground. So certainly, I don't want you to reveal any trade secrets, but I would love, since you're in such a unique perspective, to kind of walk us through what are the successful steps of going from I've got this idea to we're rolling cameras on something, right? What are kind of the steps that anyone who wants to be successful at this really needs to do?
I can sum up the whole experience very simply. Get yourself out of your comfort zone and believe in what you're doing. And don't be afraid to start at the very, very beginning. I remember when I walked into the AVNs 2023, it's before you and I had met.
I think so,
Yeah.
just before.
And that's when I first met Rebel. And, all I had was like the rough outline of a pitch deck and an idea, and I was like, well, you got to start somewhere. But I really believed in this idea. I'm not going to go off on an endless tangent like I did before about it, but I really believed in this concept that you could create a show like this. And I was like, well, I remember when I started as a camera operator, I started off shooting local news and the crappiest, terrible money. But you got to, but I really believed I really wanted to be a camera operator. I wanted to be behind the camera. So again, to try to keep it simple, don't be afraid of getting out of your comfort zone, and don't be afraid to start at the very, very beginning, which is where I started with this project about 5 years ago. Really, it's intimidating at first, so all of a sudden now you're producing and now you've got to sell this idea. But I really strongly believe in it. Along the way, I've been able to attract some really terrific people to the project, yourselves included. Obviously, we talked about the cast, and so I think that what keeps me going is because you always have those moments like, what the hell am I trying to do here? I must be, when I look at the terrific people around me, the people that have attached themselves to the project and have been nice enough to help me out and volunteer their time, I was like, I got to be doing something right because I've got such terrific people around me. So, what are the first steps? Come up with an idea that you really truly believe is unique and different, and then not being afraid to step outside your comfort zone. It was terrifying at first. I remember walking the AVNs. I'm like, plus it was, especially with this subject matter, it has to be handled correctly. And we touched on this earlier. This idea that a guy would just come up to an adult film actress and be like, "Hey, I got a great idea for a TV show." I mean, how many times have people heard that? Right? Hey, I can make you a star.
The eye roll suggests that it's happened to you 3 times this week already.
Oh my God! I mean, and I was like, all right, I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. But then in back of my mind, but I'm not that guy.
Right.
There's no outside agenda. I say that all the time. I really find the subject matter fascinating, and I will own this. I'll give myself a little bit of credit. I think I was right. These are really interesting people. And, every time I spend time with Ken or any of the cast members, they're always telling me about something new they're doing or this new, and I'm like, that's fucking awesome. I love hearing about that. And I hope Ken will talk about a little bit about the stunt work you're going to be doing. Yeah. I mean, that's who thinks about that when they think about adult film stars, So I think I really believe there's this kind of underserved community that is not getting the respect that they deserve.
Sure.
And I think I was right. I had a sneaking suspicion. I was like, I bet these people are really fascinating to hang out with. And I'll own that. I think I'm right. They really are.
Before we ask Kenna about her future stunt work here, one question I wanted to ask you about working on the show was, what's something that you learned or surprised you during the shoot? So anything that was you
I-
weren't ready for, and it just like
I'm
that's
surprised at how comfortable I am with all these people. I really, like I said, it's doing a project like this. You're out of your comfort zone. There've been a few uncomfortable moments, but I'm surprised at how easy it is to spend time with these people. If you get past a certain aspect of it and just look past that, it's just a really interesting group of people to spend time with. I think the most surprising thing is I've just had a fucking awesome time producing this show. I really, really enjoy doing it. It definitely takes me out of my comfort zone. There are times when I'm like, what the hell am I trying to do here? And then you just take one step at a time. Like, what's the next thing I have to do? I don't worry about the outcome. I just, I know the outcome will be there. I just take one step at a time. And like I said, when you asked me about what shows as a camera operator or a DP that I'd want to be working on, at this point in my life, it's like, oh, who's going to be there? Who's the director? That'll be fun. I want to do it. But I think this project is like, oh, I get to work with all these people and hang out with all these people. This is awesome. I'm really enjoying the process, so.
Interesting. Well, it seems like you've reached a point in your career where enjoying what you're doing is part of the real main reasons why you do it. So, I have a question for both you and for Kenna, but we'll start with Kenna because I think you're each going to have interesting answers because one of you is on the inside of the industry, the other's kind of on the out in a manner of speaking. What is something important that you feel like the show is going to be able to capture or present to audiences that you really hasn't had the opportunity to show audiences before?
I think we get to dispel a lot of negative imagery that people have about us as adult film people.
Sure.
I think most people assume we have issues with drugs, we're sex addicts, we're dirty, filthy people who will just do deviant things all day long, every single day.
That does not strike me as you're the type of person.
No. I mean, I have my moments like everybody else, but overall, it's like I'm one of the cleanest people you'll ever meet. That is one of the things I am stoked about, like being like, get out of my face about. People call me a dirty whore all the time, and it irritates the fuck out of me. I get tested every 2 weeks.
That's gotta be frustrating for people to say things like that. And people don't say that to your face, do they?
I've had people say that to my face.
That's
There are
really
judgmental people in the world,
There
unfortunately.
are.
That's a shame.
But I really
misinformed, but very judgmental.
very much so. But I really like that we get to dispel a lot of those things and show that we are family people. We are people that go shopping like you do. We like to go to the park. We like to go camping. We like to do normal things like everybody else.
And you like to do stunts, apparently.
Yes.
I do. My guy has actually been in stunts for the last 9 years. And once we got together, I was like, you know what? I am surrounded by the stunt community constantly. I would be absolutely crazy not to take anything away from it. So been working on getting more comfortable with heights because I have an immense fear of them, but doing high falls.
You and me
you
both,
go.
sister. I'm 6'5", so I'm already pretty high off the ground as is,
Yeah,
So-
you're a
Every
little
fall's
higher
a
up.
high fall.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, doing everything from high falls to wire work, like when you see superheroes being yanked off the ground and dropping in.
Yeah.
Like that's something I actually would love to specialize in. My guy specializes in fire burns and has done over 400 body burns and stuff
wow.
like that.
This is a weird question to ask, but have we? Might there have been
Yeah,
something we've seen him on
Have
fire?
we seen him on fire?
Yeah.
Probably not. It's been a lot of smaller gigs and
Okay.
friend projects and stuff.
Gotcha.
And they do classes where they'll let the new people on fire that are interested in it, so you can do it in a safe environment.
Yeah.
Is there anyone new today that would like to be lit on fire?
So that will be my
I'm
next
thinking we
Friday.
should sign up for the class, and I'm volunteering you to be the
I'll
one
do
that's
it.
lit
I'll
on
do it
fire.
once.
Yeah, perfect.
I'll do anything once.
So that'll be my next Friday.
Nice. You know what I always think of when I think of body burns is there's a shot in the Zack Snyder's Watchmen movie where somebody's on. I remember watching some of the special features.
Oh, it's the prison shot.
and it's a prison shot, and that dude is walking down a hallway for a good I mean seriously 30, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And I remember them saying how dangerous that was. So when I think of somebody being lit on fire, I always think of that dude, going down a hallway.
That's actually an amazingly long time. So normally for about your first time, if you go over 10 seconds on your first time, it's considered very impressive.
Yeah.
But normally, because a lot of times you're holding your breath, especially if
that's-
there's
you
a lot of
can't
movement, especially if
Breathe
you're
that superheated air coming off. Of it.
yeah, especially if you're fully engulfed. My guy's going to do one where he's actually going to put a hood over his head. So he can actually because it's going to be full body, fully engulfed, and he's going to be hung essentially. And put a hood over his head so he can put something in his mouth, trace it down his leg of his pants so he can actually breathe underneath it and actually do quite a long burn scene.
Wow. Interesting.
I'm good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I need to do that, even though it now has its own Academy
Although,
Award.
you know what, though? I swear to God, the truth,
about time.
honestly, if gun to my head, if I had to either get lit on fire or fall off something high, I'll light me on fire. Let's go.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not falling off it, you know?
I'll take
I will
fire.
do both at once.
I legit get vertigo. Like if I stand near the edge of like a tall building, I legit like get like Jimmy Stewart. Like I literally kind of
Yeah.
get like a little
Yeah.
bad.
I do the same.
You and me both.
I
Yeah,
do the
oh,
same.
God. So no tall buildings for either of us.
It happens to me sometimes if I'm just walking and I look up at a very tall building, I notice I start crouching down.
Yeah, yeah. That's
no,
why in our contracts we demanded we record the show on the first
Ground
floor of the
floor.
building.
I definitely have that.
Yeah.
I
It was
have
very
that-
strong in our riders that it had to be a first floor recording.
I
Yeah.
have that call to the abyss in me.
So coming from the outside of the industry,
Mm-hmm.
working your way in through the show, I mean, what was something that was very important for you that you wanted to let audiences experience by making the show? Something that they might not have seen before.
Well, one thing I noticed that I didn't realize was that a lot of the performers that I've met, I think that they find what they do on camera sometimes very therapeutic, and also it gives them a chance to kind of recapture a sense of themselves. And I didn't realize that side of it, you know, and I thought that was really interesting. You know, that's something that took me by surprise. It was not only that, you know, I understood that they enjoyed what they did and they're, you know, did it obviously willingly, but also that there was almost a therapeutic aspect to it, which a lot of people have no matter what they do for a living. You know, maybe you are attracted to a certain profession because there's some sort of deep, you know, need that I certainly did being behind the camera or being on the radio or whatever. So that was something that was really a pleasant surprise that I don't think a lot of people realize, is that there is a therapeutic value, I guess, to not to everyone, but many of the people that do this for a living. And that's terrific. What a great way to deal with some issues from your past or from the present or whatever, but it seems pretty healthy way to deal with it.
I mean,
My
absolutely,
idea.
a chance to humanize these individuals at
Yeah.
the very least.
Right.
I think.
And thanks
Exactly.
to both of your hard work, that people are going to get a chance to see that.
Absolutely.
The larger scale mass audience is going to get a chance to see it. So, you know, it's exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah. So you have the pilot shot. What are the next steps for the show, and what is your ideal trajectory for how it should go?
Well, the ideal trajectory is I think it's a show that absolutely belongs on a mainstream streaming platform like Netflix or HBO Max or
Sure.
one of those. Like I said,
Yes,
there.
it's back to being HBO Max now.
Oh, is it?
I never
So
changed.
HBO
Apparently, it
Max
changed
became.
this weekend. I think it went back to officially being HBO Max now.
Oh, okay.
It's the Warner and Discovery merger.
Warner
and
and
split?
Discovery are splitting up again, so it went from being HBO Max to Max, and now it's back to HBO Max.
I
So-
see.
They
When
had
it became
a
Max,
merger for like a year and a half.
when it went from HBO Max to Max, I thought to myself, "What's going to happen to Peacock?"
Dun-dun-dun.
First thing I thought of. Like that, huh?
That was a good one.
Shoot. So well, first of all, I obviously, you know, I have some people interested in the show. They wanted they were asking about they wanted to see a sample episode. That's the really great thing that's happened in the last few months. Is I had a terrific investor come in, and we were able to shoot the pilot, which we did last week, and actually spend some decent money. I think do it right. And we have a product now that is absolutely, you know, worthy of being on the air, and the production values are terrific. Like I said, I had people interested in the show, but the one thing was like, well, you know, let's see a sample episode, and I didn't have the money to do that. Well, we've achieved that now, so I'm really, I feel like I have a little more gravitas going into any meeting. Not only do I have a great idea, but now I have a sample episode. Plus, I wanted to add this. Because of the money we were able to spend, the production values are so good that, you know, purely from a negotiating standpoint, it's quite possible a network or a buyer would say, yeah, we like the idea, we'll buy it, but we want to use our production company. And now with what we've done over the last, you know, few weeks, I feel like I was like, no, I don't need your production company. Look what we were able to do. We have a terrific crew. We have a terrific cast. We can make this, and we can make it look great, which obviously gives us a little more, like I said, gravitas, a little more strength in negotiation. And why would I want to bring in an outside production company? I've been doing this shit for 35 years.
More control over how it gets
Yeah.
presented.
Did you get really particular about the camera operators? Like, did you hand
I was very particular. Well, I was very particular about the director I wanted to use.
Yeah.
And then he was very particular about the camera operators he wanted to use. And luckily, they're all people I've known for the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
They're all people I work with on shows like the Academy Awards or
Nice, okay.
Dancing with the Stars, whatever, shows like that. So,
So at no point did you have to go, just give me the camera for a second.
yeah, exactly. Oh God, no! I had such a great cast and crew, and the crew was terrific. We brought in some terrific people from LA. I was able to get the lighting designer from the Tony Awards.
Nice.
I mean, really, I was very, very lucky. I had a great investor, and we had a really great crew. So the finished product is terrific, and I think it gives us a little more lift in the negotiation whenever that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I have a question for both of you, because again, I would imagine you have slightly different answers. How can people, our listeners, how can they help support, make sure the show gets on air? Because you have a pilot, but it's not a done deal yet, exactly. So how can everybody help support to make sure that the show makes its way out there?
I'll let Kenna answer that first because she's more familiar with social media and promoting herself.
So I think at this point, the best way to support and kind of follow along with it is we do have an Instagram page up that we post all the updates on, and it's called The Adult Life.
The Adult Life ENT.
The Adult Life ENT. Thank you.
And just for our listenership as well, we'll obviously, if we're not already following it, we'll make sure to tag it and post it when by the time this episode's up. So make it easier for our listeners to just click right through to that. But
exactly. But yeah, that's where we're posting all of like our updates on the show, any sneak peeks that we did filming during our pilot. We do a lot of like social media posts with the girls just to kind of get to know the personalities and show a little bit of the inside before we get into it.
Does social media engagement help as much as it does with reality TV, as it does with feature films and stuff? I'm sure you both have heard that Maya Hawke interview where she was talking about she was having lunch with a producer and
she was big mad about this.
Yeah, and they were saying like, well, like you can't. It was like basically they were saying like, well, you don't have enough Instagram followers like to get cast in the show.
Part
and
of
it's
the
like, are you
formula now
kidding me?
is your social following as far as casting decisions, and that's crazy.
I'm learning all about that. Currently, I was never aware. I'm obviously a little bit older than some of you, but the point is, I grew up at a time when it was all about Nielsen ratings. I started the business, and obviously now it's not about that. It's about social media connections and how many followers you have, as Kenna was saying, and stuff like that. So, I'm like I said before, I'm learning as I go, but we've been able to create I think a terrific Instagram page. We're at 15,000 followers, which I know is not a tremendous amount, but considering we're not even on the air yet.
So good, yeah.
But if people want to support us, it's the Adult Life ENT. On Instagram. I have someone developing a TikTok channel and a YouTube channel currently as we speak. I'm not going to go into detail about that but that's the next step in terms of social media. But we also are going to develop merchandise and clothes with our logo on it.
Nice.
I've got somebody else working on that. But the best way to support is please go to our Instagram page and like us on Instagram and follow us on Instagram. And I'm so proud of the work we've done on that. And Ken has been a big contributor. And I have a terrific social media coordinator. Her name is Katie McCauley, and she's working with me in Las Vegas. And she spent a lot of time with the cast. And that's a great place to start to support us.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, I do feel like any social media coordinator has to be like under 30. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Don't hire a 40-year-old to do social media stuff. I'm so lost on.
And certainly not a 50-year-old.
No.
No chance in hell.
Yeah. Well, we are super duper excited for the show. And so we can't wait to see what the next steps are. And hopefully we'll have a big premiere party and, we'll get to see it on the air. It'd be great.
I would love that.
In the meantime, where can people follow? I mean, if they want to follow along with just your adventures on a personal level, where can people follow you, the both of you?
I'll let Ken answer that first.
You have a little bit of a bigger online presence than I imagine Damien does. Yeah,
just a small bit. Twitter, my only one is Kenna James 21. Instagram is @RealKennaJames, and if you really want to find everything else, you can just Google me.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't generate the same kind of interest, but if you really are masochistic and want to follow my life, obviously follow the show. That means the world to both of us, to all of us. But follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I don't know.
You and me, dude.
My life's
Facebook
not that. My life's not that fascinating.
Yeah,
trust me. This is, this is definitely a highlight for me. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the show sounds amazing. It sounds like you've done a lot of really hard work, and we really can't wait to see the pilot. I think it's going to be interesting and I guess beautiful as well, since with the crew that you put together.
Poignant, I'd say.
Poignant, yes. Visually stimulating. But it sounds like it's going to be great. We want to thank you for coming back on the show, and thank you for these amazing espresso martinis. We've all started talking faster since this interview started because the coffee is now in us and we've got the jitters. But yeah, fantastic seeing you again, and hopefully everyone checks out the show and you get some amazing traction there. If you want to follow us here on TwoDrinkMaximum, you can find us on Instagram at TwoDrinkMaximum, which is TWODRINKMAXIMUM.
Never in a million years did I think you'd stumble on drink.
Well, I get so caught up worrying about the maximum part that I had.
He's got it memorized now. It was for the first couple episodes. It was always like a high wire act of like, let's see how far deep into maximum he gets before that look in his eyes of like, I'm off the rails goes.
And for the other one, you can also listen to our shows on YouTube now,
Yeah.
which is at the number 2 DRINKMAX. I made it shorter, so it's 2DrinkMax, which is great there on YouTube. Check that out. Listen to all us on audio with our wonderful no graphics. It's good. You do something while you're doing something else. But yeah, thank you so much. Great to talk with both of you. I wish everyone the best coming up.
Thank you guys so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. It's great being here again.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will catch everybody on the next episode. All right, here we
Thank
go.
you, everybody, for listening.
We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.